How are you all doing today?
Everybody good? Welcome to this. We are live from Las Vegas and the floor of NAB. Now, NAB, of course, stands for Nana's Amazing Boys.
No, how many times have it absolutely...
This show is being hosted by two adorable boys with some very proud nanas.
I call her my booby.
And your booby's very proud of all the work you've been doing, all the interviewing and talking and the funny bits you've been doing on the internet.
My booby is proud.
Steven, are you getting emotional?
No, absolutely not.
Buddy, it's okay. You can get emotional. It's okay. It's just me and you here. And all these people. And all those people watching on Facebook Live and YouTube. Hi, Nana. Hi, Booby.
We are live to Facebook Live. My name is Steve. I'm director, producer, and founder of Framework Productions.
And I'm #1 grandson, the Jeff McKinnon, comedian, writer, and actor. And also, my Nana is the queen of my heart.
And today we are talking with the leading voice of camera and lens technology and a well-known reviewer, Philip Bloom, about the difference between cinema lenses and photo lenses.
You know what's crazy is my Nana is also a well-known reviewer of the latest cameras. Most of her reviews are mostly, I don't know how this works. Is this how it works? But actually, she just sent me a new review yesterday. Let's take a look.
Hi, we just learned how to do a selfie.
Wow, that's amazing. Now I'm a proud grandma. Give it up for my Nana. She just turned 78 yesterday. That's Helen Sands, everyone. 78 yesterday. She feels like she just took a selfie, and we're going to let her continue to believe that. But you know, she is pretty tech savvy. She does know what HDR means.
No, she does not know what HDR is.
Yeah, HDR means hard diet restrictions. It's a list she keeps on the side of her refrigerator. It's mostly dairy products. She has a very sensitive tummy.
Well, HDR, in all seriousness, is a serious matter, and we sent Jeff out on the street to make sure that people know that.
I'm on the streets of New York City asking the hard questions about HDR. What do people know? And do they know it already affects them? Sir, do you know that you already have HDR? Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Irresponsible. American schools.
I'm not a person with HDR. I can guarantee
That's what you think. Did you give her HDR?
It wasn't me.
Don't believe this man. He is a liar. He has HDR. He's giving it to everybody. Symptoms of HDR are much more prevalent amongst men.
It's gonna destroy us all.
It's supposed to be better for us. I don't know.
Better? How can it be better? Computer is very dangerous.
I think it's very clear that HDR is going to lead to World War III. Where are you from?
Australia.
Do you think that Australia would allow HDR to be where it is in America as it is today?
No idea.
Depends who's president.
Ooh. Do you think Obama would have allowed HDR to get as far as it has?
Obama? Obama's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy. Guys, do you think that Obama would have let HDR get this far?
I don't want to talk about it.
I know, me neither. Do you think Obama would have allowed HDR to get this far?
Probably not.
Do you think that Obama is to blame for the rise of HDR?
What's HDR?
Sir, do you think Congress should be approving HDR?
Hell no.
Am I the only one that worries that I have HDR? I have HDR. How does that make you feel about me?
Oh, I like you. You're cute.
Oh, thank you so much. Ma'am, I have HDR. How does that make you feel about me?
Good.
Are you taking a picture? Is that an SDR or HDR? Do you know?
HDR?
Okay, look.
Yeah. If HDR was in your household right now, would you feel safe?
Not totally.
No, but you're American deep down.
Yeah, I'm half-half.
You're half-half.
Yeah.
How would you feel if I was half SDR, half HDR?
I don't know.
I mean, HDR, it's not a good thing, you know, so that's definitely important.
Look at this relic of a bygone era. In 5 years, this will be like the payphone. SDR is dead in 5 years.
But HDR, what?
SDR is dead in 5 years. How does that make you feel about HDR? Who shot HDR? Did you shoot HDR? No? Suspicious. Did you shoot HDR?
I hope so.
if you were HDR, you would not want to be shot, right?
I wouldn't want to be shot if I was QPR.
Oh, QPR.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds even more advanced.
I don't even know what that is.
Now I have to figure out what the hell is QPR. Did you shoot HDR? We always shoot HDR. Bunch of real psychos. Well, that's me doing what I do best, accosting strangers on the street. Now, there's no doubt why all you beautiful tech dudes and dudettes are tuned in to have a look at our guest today. He is hailing from across the pond, so he can say pretty much anything with that accent, and I'll totally believe him. He's a British filmmaker known for his work on DSLR, blogs, and workshops. He's also worked with Lucasfilm, CNN, Sky, and so many other platforms. Please welcome to our show, Adorama Live here, Philip Bloom, everybody. Give it up for Philip Bloom.
Thank you very much for being on here today, Philip.
You're welcome.
How's your day been so far?
Busy.
Yeah?
Fun, yeah.
I've
Good.
been bouncing around all over in AP, it seems like.
Mostly around here. This is where all the good stuff is, apart from maybe the Blackmagic camera. So yeah.
You're a photographer and a cinematographer.
Most
and director and
yeah, the photography is really just a hobby, but I still do a lot of it. But yeah, filmmaker, director of photography, whatever you want to call me, I don't mind.
Okay, cool. But it is. So how did you get started? What is your background, and how did you get into all of this?
God, it sounds like we're having a therapy talk.
Yeah,
here.
really.
Can I have a
trying to
couch?
just get you to open
Started
up.
with
You
my
can
mother.
Lay down
Yeah.
right here. It's nice soft carpet. Nobody will
Ah,
mind.
okay. Well, I started in, unlike all these lovely people here who have the ability to buy cameras which have amazing things like HDR for not a lot of money. When I grew up in the 80s, and so cameras are incredibly expensive. And I just took still photos, and I just found a job. I looked at a job that I might want to do, and somebody suggested TV, and I said I like TV, and that's how I got into it. It's as simple as
You just saw what
from
you
a,
want.
Well,
and
from a
you
photography
did
back,
it.
you know, I took a lot of photography, a lot of photos when I was a kid, and I wanted to be a still photographer. And I was advised not to do it not because I was no good at it, which I probably wasn't, but because the guy said to me, digital is going to change everything. I didn't know what digital was, but it hadn't really started at that point, but he was right, and it changed the whole industry. So he said, have you thought about doing TV news? And I went, yeah, why not? And that's really how I got into it. And I spent 17 years working at Sky News and traveled the world, saw pretty much everything I needed to ever see, did some amazing things, and then left to go freelance almost 12 years ago.
Wow.
So,
I mean, it seems to me lots of different brands, companies, all people ask you to do a lot of different things. What do you find yourself enjoying to do the most right now?
sleep.
Great answer.
In Vegas, sleep. The one thing you don't have time to do.
I think that's the opposite of what most people do in Vegas if you're not in the convention.
Yeah, it's difficult with NAB, isn't it? But documentary is my favorite thing by far. Telling real stories, and you know, the money's not in it, but it's not for that you do it because it's creative, and it's the most fulfilling thing I can do with my time professionally.
You also shoot more narrative pieces as well, right?
Fiction, I've done a few things for fun, but no, it's TV documentaries, independent documentaries, and corporate films, but all with a documentary style. It's kind of, I think it's because I come from that news background, it gives me a sort of attention deficit disorder aspect of it, and like I hate long, slow setups. I mean, I've worked on features and you have to be very patient. Whereas I have this constant energy when I'm shooting. When I'm started, if I stop, then that's no good. I'd like to keep on going. So yeah, most of it is documentary.
Today we're looking at some Fujifilm cinema lenses, and we're just saying how they're different mechanically and optically than photo lenses. In your work, you say use both. When would you choose to use either?
Well, so coming from an ENG background with big shoulder cameras, 2/3-inch sensors, they're all great lenses. So I was so used to that for 17 odd years. And then when I went freelance and then DSLRs came in, you got used to these stills lenses, which are affordable and very good for what they are, but mechanically horrendous. I'm a manual focus guy and all this sort of stuff, and being able to change your iris is not possible. When you try zooming in, you go out of focus. All these things you get used to when you start using the stills cameras and still camera lenses. And even when I went and got a Red Epic, I'm still using still lenses on it. And it's because cinema lenses are so expensive and so heavy and impractical for most things. And so when Fuji came along and with these, it was cinema lenses which have the mechanics I want without the cost and the weight was a big deal. So I mean, I use still lenses for a lot of work still. And you know, I have a C200 from Canon, and the autofocus on that camera is insanely good. So when I'm shooting docs and I want to shoot interviews, I don't manually focus. I just tap the face
and let it go.
And that's it. You can shoot at 1.4 and it will always work. And that's amazing. So that's when I use those sort of lenses. And obviously when I'm going out with small cameras, and I'll use small lenses as well. But for any of the documentary work that I do, then I'm going to use the MK cinema lenses.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you we're going to look at some of these in a moment. Can you just give me the layman's brief overview, bullet points of what the differences are?
Okay, so the main thing is there's no electronics in it. It's purely mechanical and optical. The image quality is edge-to-edge sharp. So it's a T2.9 stop, which is around f2.75, I think it is. So it's a nice, and it's a constant aperture. So no matter where you are in the zoom range, it is always the full brightness. It's none of these, some say they're constant aperture and they're not, but this truly is. It's a parfocal lens. So when you set it up correctly with your back focus, no matter where you are, as long as you set it, for right now, if I zoomed into that guy over there with the baseball cap and, is it a fork? I don't know what it is. A spear. There you go. He's like Neptune, god of the... So I would focus on him and then pull out. And if I've got it correctly, he will always be in focus. No matter where I go on the zoom range, he'll be in focus. But use a stills lens, a stills zoom, if I zoomed in to him, got focus and then pulled out, he wouldn't be in. So these are really important features to have. So when you're shooting documentaries, you need to be fast. You need to get your focus and carry on. You don't need to keep, if you're doing a narrative film, then, between every shot, you're going to check focus and have the time. When you're working fast, you don't want to have that. So that's a really big deal to have that. And then light. They're under a kilo, which I think is like 2.2 pounds.
Yeah.
So that is fantastic.
Yeah, I just touched one for the first time here a few minutes ago. They're extremely light. I'm used to cinema lenses being big, bulky.
But well made as well. And they've got the optics of their expensive Cabrio line.
And we're talking about the MK and the MKX
MK,
Fujifilm cinema lenses.
Yeah, I've only ever used professionally the E-mount ones, so they're E-mount. So they don't work on Canon cameras. They only work on E-mounts, the MK E-mounts. And then obviously the X ones work on the Fuji X mounts.
Great.
That's part of how they keep them small, is because they're for small flange distances.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to pop one on a camera and get it up here. We need just a minute to set it up. So while we do that, what you capture in the camera and in production is not only what you do to the image. It's a lot about how you treat it in post. I was able to catch up with my friend Josh Bohosky of The Mill, who's the award-winning colorist from last year, and see how he does what he does. I'm here in the color theater of The Mill in New York City with my buddy, baller colorist, Josh Bohosky. Do you mind if we kind of jump into the computer and we look at some of the stuff you've done and maybe we can examine like a clip or something? You can show me what you do.
Definitely.
All right, let's do it. Here we are at the big old console.
Yeah.
So what am I looking at here?
So this is the base light. This is what we work off of. All these are just LCD screens that you can customize and make whatever you want.
Dude, look at that. That's cool. It's actually got images in the buttons.
Yep.
So this is like a custom panel for you.
Yeah. So basically, each colorist has their own user setup, and then all the buttons are just set up to where we want them.
So let's take a look at a piece that you just finished, the before and afters, and how you got there.
Yeah, this is a Claro music video that I just did the color for, directed by Matt Cohen and shot by Ben Mullen.
And you worked with him before?
Yes, yeah. I have a really good working relationship with Matt. And here's just like the log flat image of it.
This is what you actually started with, was that.
Yeah.
So that's from that.
So got that to
that.
to there, yes.
Would you mind showing me how you do it?
Yeah, so you have a layer, and then within each layer you can customize all these things. So you have like a film grade, a video grade, a curve grade, and each reacts differently. So what I'm starting with first, I'm just doing like a curve grade, which you get like if you do Photoshop or something, just like a nice little S curve. And what I'm doing is I'm just stretching out the shadows and the highlights to just get that contrast in there.
You know what I noticed? I noticed you don't look a lot at that other monitor yet.
Not yet, yeah. So right now I'm just focusing on here and seeing what I'm doing on the S curve. And then once I start actually messing with like the temperature and everything on that, then I'll look on here and see where I'm at. And then so I'll take that, sometimes I'll double it up, give it like double the curve, and then I'll go to the film grade above those and I'll take out that contrast. Usually I do this in a much darker room, so it's
yeah, that's fair enough to say that we're lit up in here so we can see kind of awesome what we're talking about, and this room's really, really moody whenever you're actually doing it.
And then I'll just like push a little saturation in and just like kind of bring it out. And then here I'll see where I am because I feel like I'm a little warm and just cooling it off. And we have like some lookup tables that we built in-house, and I can blend it in. It just gives it a nice little punch to it.
What'd you just do there?
So I just took like so basically this is where I was at, and then I just took a lookup table and just kind of blended in a little bit, which just brings a nice little like saturation to everything.
You're doing color selection.
Yeah, so I go by the color hue, so I could key the reds, the magentas, go the blue, cyan, or I could go off of luminosity, so I could grab the shadows, or I could grab the highlights.
So that would take me like 20 clicks to do, but this you were able to do with the interface.
Yeah, and you can even like do a D key. I can literally just color pick it.
There you go. So show me kind of like what they shot on set, and then we know you got raw, but can we see what they saw on set versus what the end product ends up being from you?
Yeah, definitely. So here's just Rec 709 seeing what they most likely saw on set. And then here's where we ended up.
Wow, major difference.
So this is all just film grain that we added in and kind of carve him out a little bit more.
It's amazing what you're able to pull back.
So here's another one.
Yeah, wow, look at the difference in that.
So this footage was actually coming through really red everything. This is when I used the scope. So here we have just like the color wheel. So you see all the colors, and you see everything's just swinging through into that red. I'm just like bringing it down and taking the red out. So it's trying to color balance it all and make it feel a little bit more natural.
How do you handle something where it's more subject-centric?
Usually, you'll set the look on the establishing shot and then usually use that as a basis. If maybe she's a little dark in the close-up, like brightening her face up, like a little shape around her, and then I could key it and I could brighten that up. Got a really great tracker on here.
Wow,
Tracks it.
Really amazing how quickly you just did all of that.
I think being a good colorist is knowing when footage doesn't need to be worked that much. The best is in the subtleties.
That's a challenge I always have, is to try and not over-color pieces.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just to continue to just be blown away by your skills, dude.
I'm honored to be on.
Thanks a lot for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Hang out.
Yeah.
This is Josh Bohosky, baller, rock star colorist here at the Mill in New York. Check out his work. We'll see you soon, man.
Thank you, yes.
So we're back here and we're looking at a Fujifilm MKX 50 to 135 zoom lens here. And take me through, this is a cinema mechanical lens, right? Like what you're speaking about.
So this is one of the two lenses. So there's the 18 to 55, there's a slight crossover, 50 to 135. Split into two. Now you can look at the stills lenses here. So this is 18 to 135. This is the entire range of these two cinema lenses that you have, but with massive compromises. First off, this is, if I can actually read it, I can't see it because your filter's on it, hang on. It is, I haven't got this lens, it is 3.5 to 5.6. So it's not a constant aperture. So we'll see it when I switch it over in a minute. We'll play with this first. This is a lot cheaper and the mechanics are a lot different. The optics are fine, but this is a stills lens. And I'll show you in a minute the difference between them. So what we have is, I'll put it this way around so you can see. One of the key things is the 200-degree rotation on the focus barrel. So here is our closest point. A lot of cinema lenses, actually Fuji are the only cinema lenses I know, big proper cinema lenses, that don't subscribe to 300-degree rotation. So anybody, I don't know if anybody here has ever used cinema lenses, the biggest problem I've ever had with them is if you're a solo operator, pulling focus on the barrel lens is not possible. If you're trying to go from the full
Right. It's
you know, close up to infinity.
bunch
You
of different
can't
times
do it.
around.
So this, you can turn the 200 degrees basically means you can turn it from there to there, this entire range. 300 degrees would be like, and then you'd be like, trying to get more. You can't do it. You need so this means pinpoint accuracy for your focus. It keeps going on. It's on power save mode. So just keep it back on. There we go. So, never sit in the front row. This is like 101. It's slightly overexposed. You are hot, mate. There we go. Let me just. Yeah.
They have free studios. We thank you for your service and brake mark service program.
It's weird getting focus off this because of that delay. I'm like overcompensating. So there's our focus on there. We can just stop down a little bit. Pin sharp. But if I wanted to go onto the background, then it's going to be all the way back there. So when this lens isn't quite calibrated right, but when it's properly calibrated with your back focus, which is here, your infinity will be infinity. And so all your marks are exactly on. So you need to make sure whenever you use these lenses to get a chart out, put the chart in front, check your back focus, and you know, if you see, you know, you're 4 meters away, then I will say, I'll know that roughly you're there. So that's kind of the key thing. So that's the first. So you can see right now with the, as I say sorry about that, but you're right in the front. You're going to stick with that. Constant aperture. So let's just get you in focus. So there's our widest point. There you are. Let me just. This isn't. There you are. You're still in focus.
Looks great, yeah.
Half focal. So just do that. Really make everybody annoyed there. So that's, as you can see, there's no change in the exposure on your head when I pull out and zoom in. So that's constant aperture. I really should go off the rear screen. It'd be a lot easier. There we go. So the other thing we've got is a smooth iris, T2.9.
And it's a constant iris also, so like if you zoom in,
yeah, but that's what we just saw when we zoomed in there, which I'll do again because he's there. Sorry.
He looks terrified.
Yeah,
it's okay, sir. He doesn't
there
bite.
It is. There is no change in brightness. And we do that when I switch over to the stills lens. You'll see that. We have the gears, which are all there if you want to put on any follow focus and automatic systems there.
Work those eyebrows, son.
And
Work
the other
those
thing, and
eyebrows.
minimum focus. You stay there. Let's see how minimum focus is right now. What have I just done? I think I've just pulled out the cable. Is it working?
She'll come back in a second here.
That's the problem with these sort of lenses, micro HDMI connections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're not great. So, okay. This is a nice shot. So right now, I should come slightly closer. Keep going. All right, there's our. So minimum focus is there. So that's 1.2 meters. Come closer.
Coming in.
Okay. So I can use the macro function on here. Right, now you're too close. Back a bit. There we go. There.
Steve gets that a lot.
There. So I can get you a little bit closer with the macro on here. So it works better when you've got the wider lens, but it's a nice ability to just get a little bit closer.
And what is that adjusting for the macro function?
So it's a macro on the back here, so it just moves the back elements slightly to compensate for that. So
you get just a little bit more close focus.
Yeah, definitely. On the wider lens, it goes from minimum distance of like that to about that on the wider lens. So it's really useful when you're doing any handheld work and you want to get close up to something and then move back, and you don't have to be 1.1 meters away. So it's a terrible shot there. So the other thing that this has, so the difference between this one and the E-mount, this has electronics in it. So this communicates with the camera to give you the ability to actually use a stabilized sensor. So it will so with the 5-axis stabilized sensors, the camera needs to know the focal length. On the Sony ones, it's a passive mount. There's no electronics, so you can't make benefit of that. But with this, we'll always know where the zoom is and always compensate for it. So that's a big, nice function on that.
Yeah.
So let's just switch to the.
Okay. I'll play your second assistant here.
See if it will go on there. It's going to be a lot darker. Hang on. Okay. Obviously wider. So if you start at the 55, which is where it was before, so the focus is horrible on manual focus. Just trying to, like, as you can see, like it's not smooth. This is a stills lens. It's not designed for this. So I zoom in on you. it gets darker.
And it blows
And it blows out focus. So I'm trying to find focus again. Where is it? It's so horrible. And then we pull out again. You see that? You can't use that in the shot.
No.
So it's got autofocus, so the autofocus function is great to have that.
And it's great to snap
But the
in.
mechanical aspect of it, and it's smooth. I call this a proper smooth mechanical lens. So even when you slightly off, it looks good. But on here, everything looks electronic and clunky. But this is, it's a cheap lens. It covers the whole range.
Right.
It's a photographer's lens, yeah.
And these are the things you'll struggle with whenever you end up with this lens in the beginning while you're waiting to upgrade.
There we go.
Phil, what lens do you think would look great if we got this audience to do the wave? I think it would be NAB's first wave. Are you guys down to do the wave? Come on, we'll start with this fella here with the good beard.
Not this lens. I need a wider one.
A wide lens?
I'll have to go back to the one I was just on.
Hold on, we gotta go back to the photo lens.
You guys ready to do the wave?
Just don't change the focus.
Yeah, that's the excitement I like. This is NAB, baby.
You still do waves?
It's a
in
photo
America?
lens, so everybody in the front will be in focus, and
You're so
everyone in the
American.
back will be totally gone.
I take that as a compliment. We defeated you guys once.
No, I think we just said
gave
good
up.
luck.
We just
See how that works out for you.
Yeah. Well, I think Brexit's going very well.
Yeah. You really want to get into that? You don't have anything I can actually bring up, do you?
All right.
Oh no, just our president. It's
You
okay.
can completely
He's an
ignore
easy
everything he says because I know we all do.
All right, you guys ready to do the wave? On 3. Ready? I'm going to count down from 3. We're going to start with these 3 fellas here, and let's go row,
back.
row, row.
Never
All y'all
sit
in
in the front. You know now.
Follow the wave. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, wave!
Well, that was pathetic.
It really was. That is a wave at a
Bloom,
tech convention.
people. This is Philip Bloom. We need a Philip Bloom level wave.
All right, come on.
So you stand up as you do it.
Yes.
You've got to stand. You can't do it.
Everybody pretend
You've
you're
got
at
to
a New York
stand.
Yankees game. You've had a couple of hot dogs and beers, and everybody's feeling really good.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, wave!
Rubbish, isn't it?
That's better. All right,
That's pretty cool.
Much better.
That's
All
pretty
right,
cool.
so now
Take that, Comic-Con.
Let's get back onto the proper
back to the
lens.
cinema lens.
Don't worry, it was live, so everybody's seen it. It's fine. There we go. You can see just how much smoother that is. I'm just going to drop just the focus itself.
And for it, like if you were going outdoors to indoors and needed to change exposure, or you walk in
Everything, yeah.
anything like
Yeah.
that's usable. That adjustment.
Yeah. If we had clouds going in and out, you can ride the iris smoothly and things like that.
And
Yeah,
for a
sure.
documentarian, that's much
Yeah.
more effective, obviously.
Sorry. Also, never sit in line of sight. That's always another rule. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so I mean, when I go out shooting with these, I basically just have the 2 lenses. I have a shoulder bag, and I have one lens in there and one on camera, and I just switch between them. It would be ideal if you just had it all in one, but then you see the size and the weight of those cinema lenses that have it all in one, and it's so expensive as well.
Right.
So it's not a big deal to switch between them.
Do you ever work with the First AC and have them, do you ever rig this up when you're shooting doc and have them have a follow focus and you run around a frame, or do you do everything on the barrel? You like to be a character in the play.
Yeah, look, that's an interesting analogy, isn't it? The
that's the
character
way
in
I
the
always
play.
describe it. I was like the camera operator, camera is a character.
Yeah, no, I mean it's only on big productions or some narrative fiction would I potentially have a focus puller. So for docs, no. I mean, I have an assistant. An assistant will maybe pass lenses to me and stuff like that. But other than that, no. I come from that background of I bought, like everybody, I bought the follow focuses and things because they look cool. I bought all the matte boxes because they look cool. Yeah. I bought the rigs because they look cool, and then I put them all down again and then just went out with the camera and the lens, which is better.
For me, I feel like pulling focus is kind of almost a, dare I say, intimate thing. Like it does feel very visceral, right?
Do you have candles going when you're pulling focus?
I am shooting adult videos.
A couple of incense sticks, dimmed lighting. Let's pull that focus, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is.
It's a bad image, isn't it?
That's why you get to the set and you fire the first assistant. You're like, I'm gonna take care of this.
It's all right. If you pull focus in Vegas, it stay in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You pull in focus and then fly to New York, you're gonna have your infinity. That was a great joke. That was a camera joke. Thank you very much.
But yeah, so the racking focus, because it's about muscle memory. So you check your focus points. Not on this screen because it's not the best. Hang on, let me look in the. There we go. So and then I go to my next point, which is here, and so I know that it's muscle memory. So it doesn't change. Whereas on that, you can't do that. You cannot. You have to do it by eye. You have to get to that point. Whereas here, you actually can you'll know that the focus is always going to be there, and that means pulling focus is easy. It's a very easy thing. I was talking to a guy yesterday who he doesn't like shooting full frame because he finds it too difficult to pull focus. And it's because part of it is he's not using the right lenses, cinema lenses, which have that. Now, full frame cinema lenses, there's not a lot of them, and they are even more expensive. This is Super 35. So it works great on a Super 35mm camera, but you can use it on the Sony A7 series cameras. There's a Super 35mm mode in it, so you can just switch it to that, and that gets past that.
So we have a couple minutes left here. Why don't we ask, does anyone here have any questions for Philip about cinema lenses or photo lenses and the difference between the two of them?
Anybody questions for Philip? We'll take it open on the floor. Right back here, sir. I'm going to come to you. Go ahead and stand up and introduce yourself.
Josh from Buccaneers, the NFL. Here you go. Okay. Thank you. What's your go-to zoom cinema?
Go-to?
Zoom cinema lens. Like your most consistently used one. Focal, that one right there.
Well, both of them. I mean, these are the only. I have a couple of older cinemas where I don't really use them. They're PL ones, but the 1855, and this one, 51-35. This is what I use for B-roll. So because I like longer lens stuff, but for anything that's handheld, that's actuality, following characters around, will be the wider lens. But it's a 50-50 split, pretty much. Yeah.
Next question for Philip.
Just shout it out there. Just shout it out.
Shout it out. Come on over. Here you go.
Hey, how's it going? Big fan. Have you had a chance to check out Sigma's new cinema lenses, and if so, what do you feel about them?
I am a massive fan of the Sigma lenses. So I have, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 of the art stills lenses, and autofocus is great, and it go well with my C200. And this is my problem. So I tried out the cinema lenses, and it loses the autofocus. Okay, the optics are identical to the stills lenses. The mechanics are different, and they're heavy, and they're expensive, and they breathe. They focus breathe. Focus breathing is when you do rack focus. When you rack focus something closer, it's like a slight zoom, and the 18-35 doesn't do it so much, but the 50-150 does it quite a lot. But I mean, you can fix that in post. They are amazing lenses, incredible, and their stills lenses are insanely good. I want to get the 105 1.4, be the best portrait lens out there, and they're doing E-mount now as well. So,
have you checked or know anything about the breadth in these lenses?
No, there is none.
None. They're
crisp. There's none. It's ridiculous.
Crisp, sharp, beautiful, front to back.
Breathing is a thing that you tend to get in stills lenses because it's not designed for video. You don't really care about it. And coming from that video background, I've never come across breathing until I started using stills lenses. And so it's nice not to have a lens which doesn't do it. So yes, it's a shame that the Sigmas do breathe, but as I say, you can fix it in post. But I love those Sigma lenses for that autofocus as well. So it's a tricky one.
So we'll do one last question, and then that'll be it. Anyone? Okay.
Lady down
All right, Philip, what is up?
I got a question. Yeah, what's next for Philip Bloom? What's next for you, sir?
Today?
Yeah.
I'm going to go and see Kinefinity, the Terra 4K camera over there, and then I have a podcast, and then Sarah's doing some time lapse down there, and I'm going to go and help her out with that, and then dinner, and then we do it again tomorrow.
All right.
It's basically it's live, die, repeat.
A very busy man, Philip. Thank you so much sincerely for coming on today.
Thank you.
Philip Bloom, everybody. We want to thank everybody for being with us here at the Adorama live from NAB. Especially want to thank our viewers at home as well on YouTube and Facebook Live. We've got a really exciting 3 shows, our final 3 shows here live from NAB. Tomorrow, we're going to be back at 11 a.m. Pacific time with our friend who's in the audience tonight, checking us out, making sure that we aren't too creepy. Igor Kropotov's going to be coming, talking to us about shooting in the North Pole. It's going to be very exciting. I'm going to wear a lot of weird gear. And then we'll be here at 1 p.m. Pacific with director of photography for Homeland, True Blood, Pushing Daisies, and some of Kevin Smith's most defining films. We've got cinematographer and director of photography David Klein with us at 1 p.m. Pacific. And finally, we're going to wrap up the day at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Again, Pacific time, with the International Cinema Guild president and the DP from a little-known cult hit, Donnie Darko. Stephen Poster's going to be with us tomorrow, so tune in right here on Adorama Live. You guys have been amazing, and by the way, if you're here at NAB, we have a bullet time camera for you to come and take a picture with us. So right after this, come and step over here, take a cool little animated GIF that you can post and get lots of likes on. That's the one we did today, huh? Look at that red jacket. I'm an idiot. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This team behind this show, we are being brought to you by Adorama TV, and we have a show on Adorama TV. It's behind the scenes of a late-night comedy show. We made one. It's called Late Night Cap, and this here is behind the scenes episode 1. So check that out right now, and we'll see you back tomorrow.
Late night
bouncing. See you at 10 a.m., dude.
10 a.m.
See you at 10 a.m., bro.
Everyone wear show blacks tomorrow or framework gear.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is James and Steve for Framework Productions. We're the creators of Adorama's Top Photographer.
And now we're making our next series, Late Night Cap. It's a late night comedy series.
We're going to do 5 cameras, live to tape, meaning we're not broadcasting it live, but it is live. The laughs, get them or don't, are real. The energy is real, the band is real, the reaction to the band is real, the room, the ambience, it's important that that be legit.
And we're going to be shooting the show tomorrow. It's midnight here at the studio that we have pretty much built. We'd like to kind of talk about and show you all the ways we did it. The whole process, A to Z.
Thank you. Cheers.
This is Late Night Cap.
First things first, as always, coffee, and that's a priority issue. That's what you call good producing. What we need from them is 3 days. 1 day loading in, setting up, 1 day shooting, 1 day loading out. A lot of people may not think about when they're going into production, does the location have enough power for the instruments I'm doing?
When you're doing a location scout, even though each project is different, you want to keep a few key things in mind. You want to take full measurements of the space, always. Everything you can get, and take notes.
Would you mind grabbing a notebook and just jotting this down? 47 feet and 8 inches.
All right, to the ceiling is 32.5 feet.
Yellow line to barrels is 24 feet.
So that's 17 feet. That's perfect. So you're going to want to know what kind of power they have, how many circuits.
Oh, yeah, this is 30 amp, but it's 3-phase.
But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 available.
We're here in the space at Five Boroughs Brewing Co. As you can see, super cool space. I always wanted the high ceilings and the big vats, and for the hosts to be standing and wide swing over the audience, you know, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Tell the people in the first 10 seconds to keep watching. You know, that'll be good.
One of the things that most people forget is to ask about staging. Where can I put my cases? Where can I put empty things? Where can I set tables up for craft services?
The big idea is the hosts, the main stage is going to be like here. The idea is we'd put up a goalpost, a truss here, and then we can put the lights in to fill in from here.
You want to take note of what kind of lighting they have. Is it fluorescent lighting in there? Is there light spilling in through windows that's daylight? All that'll be important.
You know, in here and somewhere back over here, and just 2 edge lights and that's it. Okay. Then I pull it, there's a single that happens from here.
Peacock into the New York City subway system.
And a single that happens from here.
Surfaced of 2 Pennsylvania men.
Another thing you want to think about is access. How do you get into the space? How big are the doorways to the space? Can you fit your gear through these doors? Is there a loading dock? Is there an elevator that you need to use? Audio is a critical issue that often gets overlooked during a scout. Is there an AC unit that's going to click on halfway through? Is there construction next door?
Audio is always a thing, and you want to ask the venue. When we shot the pre-tape for Late Night Cap, we actually ran into this exact issue with construction happening across the street.
And our audio is set up really well for exteriors right now.
It was a total surprise and really made our timing for takes very difficult.
My plan was for this to always put in just 2 or 3 S60 sky panels off something and just flood it. We could even probably, potentially, depending on how heavy, rig one real wide for a backlight. I think this is tentatively the plan. We just got out of the Scout from Five Boroughs Brewing. That was pretty awesome.
And you couldn't ask for more space-wise. They have all the space you could possibly ever need.
Casting is extremely important when you're doing anything in comedy. We had a deep casting process.
We want to find somebody for this, people that work well together. We took some headlines and some crazy stuff, news from the last week, and we're going to throw like 11 ideas in a hat. In one segment, we'll have them pull it out, each take one, and go back and forth, help each other out. And at the end of it, they go into a scripted monologue, which would be very similar to what the show actually is. So like the challenge of semi-scripted stuff is, and why we're kind of looking for comedians, is we want somebody that can handle scripted stuff, so we can give them bullet points and moments that they can enhance and make funny.
We sent them scripts and had them put themselves on tape, and then we brought people in for an in-person callback.
People like try and do creative things, like they add elements to it and try and make a show, and that's really what we want.
So we have Christina Cole, who gave a great tape, and this is Matt Walton, who's coming in.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys, want to come on in? Have some fun?
Why don't we start with you, like doing an interview of Christina?
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. It's killer night. It's hot.
Ashley is here. Great job, guys.
Let's go ahead and pack up and get out of here. We're talking about Matt Walton, Jeff McKinnon, Christina Cole.
Then it's like Matt Walton versus the world.
We just saw Matt Walton and loved his audition, and I wanted to discuss getting him in on the pilot.
We should mark all the ones that make us chuckle and come back and pitch them at the end.
Because we're doing a comedic series like this, and Steve and I have been working on this project for a while, we want to bring in multiple writers to keep the content and the jokes accessible, and not only from one perspective.
A town in Iowa held a special election this past week, but not a single resident showed up to vote, proving my theory that no one actually lives in Iowa. I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's the right thing.
One thing about writers' rooms is you don't want to have too few people and you don't want to have too many. And the people you do have, you want to have a different perspective on comedy and the world than you do. They challenge the way you think and they bring new ideas to the table.
The story is that the joke would come out of, there was a real Canadian couple that put up a sign that said, "Bring my wheelbarrow back." And then 2 weeks later, they put up a sign that said, "Thanks for bringing my wheelbarrow back."
Definitely worth testing for sure.
Los Angeles police arrested a man for trying to smuggle king cobras into the country inside potato chip cans. A cavity search of that man showed that the potato chip can idea wasn't the first way he tried.
Let's run it at the stage reading. It's gonna make everybody laugh their ass off. Awesome job, you guys. You got more? Okay. Was there anything on that last run through that felt totally out of place? Whenever you guys are ready.
I think one of the most critical steps whenever you're writing a comedy is to read it out loud and in front of people, because you never know what jokes are gonna work until you hear it in front of an audience. We wrote about twice as many jokes for the monologue than we needed, and we tested them out to kind of see which one would be winners.
Laugh as loud as you want, but also be honest because we need actual feedback.
A town in Iowa held a special election this past week, but not a single voter showed up to vote, proving my theory that no one lives in Iowa.
One of my favorite jokes in the monologue is NASA. It's a particularly difficult one, and it ended up with these different pieces. In the middle of the joke, he has to actually change perspective, and that's kind of a comedy nightmare, and I think Jeff nailed it.
NASA is hiring a planetary protection officer for a yearly salary of up to $180,000 to protect Earth from alien invaders. Will Smith is already paid like $70 million to pretend to do that job. Oh, I can't improvise this. Will Smith, $70 million to fake that job. But I think it might be a little high on second thought because, I mean, $180,000, that's a lot of money. Like, I know a meth head in a Denny's parking lot. He's been doing that job for the last 3 days. And we're only gonna pay him in a moons over my hammy. In Canadian news, somebody stole a man's wheelbarrow and then brought it back. And that's the Canadian news.